Welcome back to Shimpling Park Farm, where we're bringing the farm to you with our diary. Apologies that it's a rather long diary entry, but there's a lot been going on and the weather's been very catchy, as we call it. We don't use a lot of hay on the farm because we normally use haylage for the sheep in the winter, but we always do make a handful of bales because it's very useful to have a little store so that if you've got an ill ewe that needs to come inside, or indeed for the orphan lambs. So today Sam is making the hay. He wanted to do it last week, but actually it was far too wet. Tell me, how do you make hay?
Mow it, ted it again till it's dry, grow it up and bale it.
How long does it take?
Roughly 4 to 5 days. It hasn't been a good year this year. The lack of rain in the spring, so the grass isn't growing.
Okay. Show us what makes a good crop of hay.
More of these leafy parts of the grass.
So the more of that, the better hay.
Yes, yeah. Rather than where it runs to seed, produces a seed head. There's not a lot of nutrition in the stalk here.
See you later. Lovely hot sunshine. So now Sam's come back to ted it or to turn it. So he's spreading it across the field so that it dries out a little bit more. He'll do this for a few more days and then hopefully be ready to bale. I have to say, the smell is amazing. The Jcb Loader is a very heavily used bit of equipment on this farm because it has all these different attachments. You can lift up bales with that, you can grab things with that, you can load grain with that, you can go up and empty your gutters with the cage, you can move muck with that. So once every 6 months we have an external inspector who comes and double checks its safety. So tractors aren't measured in terms of miles done, they are measured in terms of hours used. Francis is here today servicing the tractor. Morning, Francis.
Good morning, Alice. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you.
Yeah,
Tell us what you're doing.
I'm carrying out a 1500 hour service, which requires changing engine oil, fuel filters, and basically checking all the other oil levels and giving it a good check over.
How long does it take?
It takes about 4 or 5 hours to do it.
I've been trying to catch up with Kevin for a few weeks now, but the weather keeps catching us out. Can you talk us through a year in the life of a bee?
So the beekeeping year starts really in August when we take the honey off, and immediately we take the honey off we start to feed the bees because the bees have built up that honey to survive the winter. They get most of their nutrition from pollen, but honey is like pure carbohydrates, so it's like their potatoes and rice. Then over the winter I'll just check them maybe every 3 weeks, and if they need extra food I can give them extra food. And the extra food, it tends to be needed sort of like in December, and we give them icing sugar, so it's a bit like giving them Christmas cake.
So what happens in the spring, Kevin?
So really starting from February the bees will start to collect whatever pollen's available, willow and things like that, snowdrops and crocuses. And in the spring those bees will actually multiply in numbers about threefold every 3 weeks until the hive is full, and hopefully by April, May there's a full colony there. Around the end of May the beekeeper will take the spring harvest off, keeping an eye to make sure that the bees have got enough food to get through June. It's really the bramble starts to come out, and that gives us most of the harvest.
So you get 2 harvests a year?
Hopefully.
How many bees in an average hive?
About 50, 60,000.
And if it's not a silly question, how many jars of honey out of one hive in a year?
Hobby beekeepers usually get maybe 25 jars of honey, whereas a commercial beekeeper should get 80 to 100. One of the new hives is a swarm I collected from underneath a trampoline in Lawshall. The key is to get the smoker going and for it to stay lit, because if it goes out at a time when the bees' attitude changes, then you want the smoker to be able to calm them.
And why does the smoke calm them down?
I think partly because it means that they can't smell any pheromone. It's also believed to encourage them to eat honey, and eating honey calms them down. This is damp grass, and I put this in the top of sawdust, and that helps keep the smoke cool. I'll take a hive tool.
Why do you store them in soda?
It's basically a disinfectant. This colony is one that we picked up about, say, probably a week to 10 days ago. You say it was very easy to collect because it was just hanging underneath a trampoline about that far from the ground. And all I did, I hold this box underneath the bees and then bang hard on the trampoline. The bees dropped down and I got pretty much all but a couple of the bees in the box. I came to visit about 4 days after I collected it, and the bees were very hungry. What I will have given them is just frames like this without anything built on them. And what the bees have done since I came here a week ago is build all this beautiful comb.
Wow. Is that in a week?
Oh yeah. So this is kind of perfect because this queen has already laid on 3 frames. This colony needs to build up to a full hive before winter.
So will you move it from this temporary box into a full hive in a few weeks' time?
That's right. Right, so
Have you found the queen?
Yeah, she's just here. She's just had a tea break.
Which one is she?
This one here at the end of my thumb. She's just longer than the other bees, and if you notice, the other bees are crowding round her.
Oh, yes.
So that's what we call...
Oh, I can see her.
That's like her court. And every 20 minutes they'll stop. She'll stop laying and they'll feed her and groom her, and then she'll keep on laying.
Wow.
And at the peak of the year, she can lay over 2,000 eggs in a day. The bees digest her food, and they feed her already digested food so that she doesn't have to waste energy doing that.
So that's the queen bee.
Yeah. So it's got more nutrition in it than honey has.
So it's a superfood for bees.
Yeah, I'm very pleased because not only are they're very calm, and the queen's already laying up the box.
Is there any difference between bee hives on an organic farm to a non-organic farm?
I would say yes, that there's a lot more variety of food.
What about the arable weeds in our fields?
Well,
of which
yeah.
we have plenty.
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting. Honeybees forage on fruit trees, they'll forage on oilseed rape, but a lot of what they forage on is actually weeds and trees.
As the week finished, unfortunately we did get some rain on that hay, so Sam is still hoping to bale it next week. There's more weeds to control and we're beginning to head towards harvest, so all the machinery is getting ready and the grain stores are getting cleared. See you next time.